And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo. And is Golgari too good at removal in the Commander format? Interesting question. Why would I be asking it? Well, there is a specific reason why I am asking about that particular color combination. Of course, the black and green color combination. Is it too good at removal? I don't think that it is. I'll just preface with that. In fact, I don't even think it is the best color combination at removal. We're just talking about two color combinations. I'd probably say Orzhov is the best at that, not only because white is probably the best color at removal in the format. I mean, it's definitely the best at removal. I don't even think that's up for debate, but also the black and white combination. You get a lot of those exile permanent effects, which is really what you want in your removal. So if Orzhov is even better, then why am I talking about Golgari here? Well, I was talking about a card recently from the new Commander Master set, Desecrate Reality. And as I was looking at it, okay, 7 mana instant, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target permanent that player controls with an even mana value. As a colorless card, I would say it's pretty decent removal. 7 mana is a lot. It is instant speed, and you're hitting something for each opponent. You can hit any permanent, which is great, and that's what you always want in your removal. I say it all the time. You can even hit lands with this, because of course, 0 is even, as it says on the card, and a land has a mana value of 0. So you can hit lands with this. You're guaranteed to get at least one thing off of each opponent, unless they don't have any permanents at all. You also have the adamant part. If at least 3 colorless mana was spent to cast this spell, return a permanent card with odd mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's pretty good. Like I said in that video, you likely would never get that outside of a colorless deck. Maybe a monocolored deck, you could pull that recursion part off as well. If you're not getting that part, the spell becomes a lot worse. And again, just evaluating it as a removal spell is just okay. I would never play this probably outside of a colorless deck. Now, what does this have to do with Golgari? Well, I compared it to Windgrace's Judgment, which has a very similar effect. 3 black and a green instant, so only 5 mana for any number of opponents. Destroy target non-land permanent that player controls. So it's not exiling, you're hitting non-land permanents, so you can't hit lands, but you're not pigeonholed into only hitting even mana value, right? If your opponent has an odd mana value commander that you want to hit, that kind of would be nice. If they got a Rhystic Study, that's a pretty good permanent that is an odd mana value. It kind of sucks to have to pass over that stuff when casting your Desecrate Reality, and a Windgrace's Judgment, of course, can hit it, and of course, is even cheaper. You certainly could make your arguments for why Desecrate Reality might be a better card, especially if you're in a colorless deck. Obviously, you can't play Windgrace's Judgment because it has to be in a black and green deck. I think at the end of the day, though, Windgrace's Judgment is the better card, and why I decided to make this video is because I noticed that Windgrace's Judgment, despite being a fantastic removal option, is only in 15,000 decks on EDH Rec. That's it? Wow, that's not a lot. This is a really great removal spell. 5 mana instant speed. For all of my opponents, I get to pick their best non-land permanent and destroy it, and even then, it's for any number of opponents, so you can actually skip over somebody if you want to be nice. You can even play some politics with this card and skip over the guy that's not doing so well and just hit the other 2 guys. This is a fantastic removal option in the Commander format, and I remember when this card first got spoiled, a lot of people were losing their minds about how it's going to go in every deck. Well, guess what, guys? It's not in every deck, and in fact, 15,000 is not a lot, and in fact, for removal, because of course, removal fits in every archetype, you want it in every deck, right? So anytime you're looking at a removal card and evaluating it, the number of decks it is in is really going to be a lot higher than most other cards because, of course, it fits in every archetype, just like ramp or card draw. You want those in every deck, so the numbers are always going to be a lot higher, and 15,000 is really low for a removal spell of this magnitude, in my opinion. And I went further down the rabbit hole and looked at Casualties of War because I had just talked about this card in a Deck Doctor video that I was doing for one of my patrons. 2 black, black, green, green. So again, another Golgari card. It's a sorcery. Choose one or more. Destroy target artifact. Destroy target creature. Destroy target enchantment. Destroy target land. Destroy target planeswalker. That's a whole lot of destroying, right? Of course, you can do all of these. 6 mana, and I can destroy a artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or Planeswalker is ridiculous. Even if I just get 2 of these, it is worth it, right? Remember, when you're casting your spell, it's going to be the best enchantment on the battlefield. It's going to be that Rhystic Study, Smothering Tithe, maybe a Rest in Peace if you're in that Marin deck and you really need your graveyard back. And then also, I'll hit my opponent's commander as well. 6 mana, I just kill my opponent's commander, and also the Rest in Peace that is hosing me is totally worth it. But you can get a whole bunch of other stuff as well, right? Again, why wouldn't you just destroy a land while you're at it? Throw that in there. And I've often cast this spell to just target one person, and it was a complete blowout, right? I say the same thing about Decimate, although with Decimate, you actually need all those targets. With Casualties of War, you don't. But if you target one person with all those modes, it's absolutely a wrecking ball for them. So I Casualties of War my one opponent who is way ahead of everyone else, destroy an artifact, creature, enchantment, and land from just them, and it really sets them back to where everyone else is. Now, why am I talking about this card with such high regard? Well, again, it is a card that when it first got spoiled, huge hype about it. Everyone thought it's gonna go in every single commander deck that has black and green, and that is not the case. Only 36,000 decks on EDH Rec. Now, it is more than Windgrace's Judgment, but 36,000 is not a lot, right? And again, for anyone who's not familiar with the numbers as far as like EDH Rec and all that stuff goes, let's look at an older commander staple, Putrefy. Probably the OG Golgari removal staple in the commander format. 1 black and a green instant, destroy target artifact or creature. It can't be regenerated, so of course that's great. You can destroy an artifact or a creature, not both, right? You're starting one or the other. I think I've seen this spell cast maybe 3 times, hitting an artifact. It's almost always a creature, right? So 3 mana instant speed, destroy a creature, that's not very good at all. And again, we're talking about a color combination that has absolute bombs like Windgrace's Judgment and Casualties of War. So by comparison, Putrefy doesn't seem that good, and Putrefy still is in 112,000 decks, way more than Windgrace's Judgment and Casualties of War. Okay, we're talking magnitudes more popular, and I know people will say, as they always do, it's in the precons. I mean, okay, it's in the precons. Nevertheless, it is safe to say that Putrefy is in more commander decks than both Windgrace's Judgment and Casualties of War, probably by a long shot, and I think that's pretty shocking, right? So this might be a situation where, okay, again, the question I'm asking is Golgari's removal way too good because Windgrace's Judgment and Casualties of Wars are not in that many decks? Does Golgari have so many options that people just aren't playing these cards because they don't need it? Or are people not playing these cards because they're still playing Putrefy? I mean, it's okay if you are, but this sort of confuses the situation where it's like, okay, well, wait, I thought Golgari had really great removal, but yet people are still playing Putrefy in over 100,000 decks. Binding the Old Gods is another one that I think is a fantastic auto-include. 2 black and a green saga. Chapter 1, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. So again, we're destroying a non-land permanent here, so any permanent that isn't a land. And then on top of that, Chapter 2, I get to search for a forest card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then Chapter 3, my creatures gain Death Touch. Again, all of that is, in my opinion, better than Putrefy. I like the instant speed on Putrefy, but everything else about Binding the Old Gods is better. It's also in permanent form, which means maybe you could get into some shenanigans where you can get it back out of the graveyard and use it again. Binding the Old Gods, 35,000 decks, right? Again, way less than Putrefy is. So another card in black and green colors that just isn't getting used nearly as much as I think that it would, and is better removal than most other color combinations have, right? Again, if we're comparing this to other colors or color combinations, this in any other color combination would be one of the best options you had, right? If this was a black and red card, for example, right, a Rakdos card, everybody would be playing this, I guarantee it. Wouldn't make a lot of sense because it's getting a forest, but let's pretend it's going and getting a swamp. Maybe Golgari just has too many options. Of course, the king of the mountain here is Assassin's Trophy. Black and a green instant, destroy target permanent opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So this is in 176,000 decks on EDH Rec, even more than Putrefy, of course, because it is arguably one of the best removal spells in the entire format. You could make the argument that it is the best because it's only 2 mana, it's instant speed, it's destroying any permanent, lands included. This is exactly what you want on a removal spell. I have argued in the past that I think Beast Within is the best removal spell in the format. Again, it's green, so if you're in that Golgari deck, you can play it as well, and you're going to, right? These are going to be your 2 first options. If I'm making a black and green deck in the Commander format, my first two removal options are Beast Within and Assassin's Trophy. I got 2 cards in my deck that at instant speed, I can destroy any permanent on the battlefield. That is fantastic. I say all the time, you want your removal to be versatile because you never know what your opponent is doing. Yeah, you might want to get their creature off the battlefield. You might also want to get their Mazavith off the battlefield because you want to get in for damage and kill them. You might want to, again, get that Planeswalker or that Rest in Peace off the battlefield as well. Again, these cards will do all of that. That's why they are so fantastic. So is there just too many options for black and green for putting removal in your deck? Are people just choosing less versatile options as removal, like maybe a Putrefy, which for me, I mean, I just would never find room for this in a black and green deck. Certainly would not find room for it in any deck with even more colors than that. Or the other scenario that could be happening here that I have talked about quite a bit on my channel is people just aren't playing enough removal. Maybe people are just putting an Assassin's Trophy and a Beast Within in their deck and just saying, well, that's good. 2 spot removal spells in my commander deck is enough, especially because they hit any permanent. Then they put a couple board wipes in and they just say, that's enough for my commander deck. Maybe that's why cards like Windgrace's Judgment and Casualty of Wars don't see enough play, because people just aren't putting enough removal in their decks. I think that is likely the situation here. Again, this video, even though I'm specifically talking about the black-green color combination, I'm talking about an overarching topic of playing the right removal and also playing enough removal. As I have been saying on my channel since the beginning, removal wins games, which of course it doesn't actually win the game, but if someone else is winning the game, they're way ahead of everyone else, and then I target them with Casualties of War for all 5 modes, they're going to be put back down where they belong, and it will give me a better option for winning, right? If I stop my opponents from what they're doing, now it is giving me an opportunity to win the game. And I have seen so many games end because everyone else is looking at each other going, where's the removal? Anyone got a board wipe? Anybody? No? Dude with the Avenger of Zendikar is just playing a bunch of lands, putting a bunch of counters on his creatures, and everyone is sitting around shrugging their shoulders because no one has instant speed removal to get rid of that Avenger of Zendikar, or no one had a board wipe the turn before to get rid of all of his creatures. So I guess the lesson of the day here is play more removal, right? Maybe that is why cards like Windgrace's Judgment and Casualties of War, in my opinion, are in way less decks than they should be. Maybe people are playing Putrefy because it's in the precons, or maybe people are playing Putrefy just because it's sort of versatile. Like, again, I think at 99% of the time I've seen this card cast, it's killing a creature. So being able to destroy an artifact, I don't know about that. The instant speed also people really, really like a lot. So maybe that is it as well. It's only 3 mana. I know people don't like expensive removal. So 5 and 6 mana is a lot, but what are you getting for it? Cyclonic Rift is 7 mana, but you're getting a lot for it, right? Farewell is 6 mana, but you're getting a lot for it. 5 mana for Windgrace's Judgment and 6 mana for Casualties of War. Yeah, that's kind of a lot of mana, but what are you getting for it? With Windgrace's Judgment, I am getting all of my opponent's best non-land permanents off the board. That seems phenomenal for 5 mana. Again, I can't believe this card is only in 15,000 decks. Casualties of War, same thing. Yeah, 6 mana is kind of a lot, and maybe it's not as good as a Farewell with how much outcome you're going to get out of it, but it's in a way almost better because this is all target. You're not hitting anything of yours. You're only hitting your opponent's stuff here. You're hitting the best artifact, best creature, best enchantment, best land, and possibly best planeswalker on the table. That seems like a huge win for you. So the question I'm asking is Golgari removal too good in the Commander format? Maybe that's why these cards aren't getting played because there's better options. Maybe it's because people are still playing Putrefy and I don't think they should be. Or maybe it's likely, I think, probably because people just aren't putting enough removal in their deck. Yes, it's nice to have that Assassin's Trophy or that Beast Within, probably earlier in the game especially, but when I got 6 mana, tapping out to cast Casualties of War can be a massive swing in a Commander game, and I think it's totally worth it. You guys let me know in the comments below, are you playing these cards? Are you not playing them? And what specifically is the reason why? That is it for today though, and thanks for tuning in.